my lovely loves, and welcome to another video. If you're new around here, my name is Lauren. Welcome to my channel, make yourself comfortable. So today is my May favourites. And I've had some real issues with my favourites videos lately, mostly in that they won't export, so I can't get them online. But I've talked about that a lot now, so I'm going to change the subject before it gets really boring. But anyway, welcome to my May favourites. We are now officially halfway through the year, and that is insane to me. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about my favourites, shall we? So the first favourite I want to talk to you about is Sally Hansen's Airbrush Legs. I have been a long time lover of this product, but particularly this month because I was a bridesmaid. So I was a bridesmaid on the 17th of May for my cousin, and I ended up using this on my legs and on my arms and shoulders, and basically anywhere that you could see. I used this instead of like fake tan, and it just gave me the nicest, most natural looking glow. It's not really a fake tanner in that this washes off, so you don't need to leave it to develop. You just literally apply it, you rub it in, it dries down, and then you're good to go. But it's completely water resistant once it's on, but then you get in the shower and use soap and it comes straight off. It's amazing. I'm a big fan of this, and so were all of the other bridesmaids, and they all went out and bought it. It's so good. The next thing I want to talk about is the Temple Spa Breath of Life Inhalation Essence. Now, I had a cold basically through the latter half of May, which was really miserable. I got it off my cousin who I was bridesmaid for. That was my present. Actually, my present was a really lovely compact with my name engraved in it. Anyway, so this is brilliant. So this has a mixture of eucalyptus, tea tree, menthol and lavender essences in it. Lavender essences. Essences is a hard word to say. Anyway, and this, I've been using this in my diffuser, which you can see there. There it is. And it just was amazing for sort of clearing everything and making it easier to breathe, and it just smells really lovely as well. I'm a big fan of sort of aromatherapy oils. I know that sounds like such a wanky thing to say, but I love them. Aromatherapy Associates especially, their Support Breathe, which is very similar to this, is one of my all-time favourites, especially when you have a cold, because it clears everything up and it makes you feel like you can actually breathe when you're feeling so shit. So that is why I've been such a big fan of this. So my next three favourites are all from Elemis, so I'm tempted to talk about them all at the same time. Before I get into what they are though, no, this isn't sponsored. This is how it worked out this month. So the first one I want to talk about is the Elemis Superfood Vital Veggie Mask. I'm not sure if I've talked about this recently. I know I've talked about the Elemis collection a lot anyway, because I had a video dedicated to it, but this, when I first was gifted the collection, I really loved the Super Berry Boost, or the Berry Boost mask, and I kind of ignored this for that one. However, I've been completely converted to this one. I love them both, but I've used this a lot and it just does amazing things to my skin. It is really hydrating, it is exfoliating, it's got fruit acids in it, so it gets rid of all dead skin and stuff. It's just wonderful, and the texture as well is incredible. So it's just it's a clay mask that feels hydrating, which is weird, but it does. And then I have the, oh sorry, I've got hair in my mouth, sorry about that. Then we have the Elemis Superfood Facial Oil. Now this wasn't gifted to me, I bought this about a year ago when it first came out. I went to the House of Elemis for a facial and a massage and ended up buying this on my way out, and I hadn't really used it, and I've recently used it. You can see how much I've used it, although that is from overuse. A little bit really does go a long way, and it's just such a lovely facial oil. So I've been using this after I've toned but before my moisturiser, just to give my skin a real boost of hydration, and it's wonderful. So it just smells incredible, it's so hydrating, and it is part of the Superfood collection, which I absolutely love. And then the last one, that is it falling on the floor, sorry. Haven't broken it though, so that's fine. The last one is the Elemis Pro Collagen Overnight Matrix Cream. I am a big fan of the Pro Collagen range. Have been using it for a long time. Elemis anyway is one of my favourite brands, but through my job as a journalist I do work with them quite a lot, so I do get sent quite a few things. I wasn't sent this, by the way, I bought this, but I just love them as a brand. I love how their products work, I love how they smell. wasn't paid to say that, but this cream has been amazing. It's like the Pro Collagen Day Cream kicked up 3 notches. It's got a really beautiful, almost jelly-like texture. I'm just trying to get the cover off so I can show you. But it's almost bouncy. So you like put your finger in and you're taking cream off, but only a little bit. It like bounces. It's so thick. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it smells amazing, sort of really fresh and lavendery. So it's definitely got sort of a hint of lemon in there as well. It just smells absolutely incredible, and it's been so hydrating. Lately my skin has been so dry, and the combination of this with the facial oil has just been amazing. I am such a big fan of this. So that is all of my beauty favourites this month. I don't actually have a lot of favourites in compared to my other videos, which is good because my last 2 videos were like 20 and 30 minutes long. I don't think this one's going to be that long, which is good. Anyway, my next one is a book. It's called How Do You Like Me Now by Holly Bourne, and I'm showing you it on my phone because I read it on my phone. I read it on the Kindle app. It is so good. Genuinely one of the best books I've read this year. Basically that, The Flat Share and Daisy Jones are like my 3 favourite books from this year. Oh, and Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, that was amazing. Anyway, How Do You Like Me Now is about Tori, who is a self-help like lifestyle coach guru. She's not a life coach, but she wrote this book in her mid-20s when she'd had a breakdown. I think it was called Who the Fuck Am I? And she'd gone travelling around America and had gone to these like hippie retreats in Arizona, and she looked around and thought basically fuck this, left and then ended up meeting this guy and falling in love, and that's the basis of her whole book. And then it's set like 5 years after that, and she's really unhappy, but she has to keep up this facade that she's so happy. And it's so interesting because on the surface Tori has got a very successful book, she's got a happy relationship, she's done a TED talk, but deep down she's miserable because her relationship isn't happy anymore, and she hasn't had any children, and she feels really lost. And it's kind of like the behind the scenes of almost like Instagram culture, in that you only know people's highlights, you don't ever see the day-to-day shit. It's so interesting and it's really good, and at times it's just straight up frustrating, where she's dealing with her boyfriend and he's just refusing to marry her. They're not having sex anymore, and it's just like, please leave him, you deserve so much better. And I think that bit was frustrating, but genuinely just an absolutely fantastic book and a really good book to take away with you. It was so easy to read, the writing was incredible, it was just so very easy to read. And that's the first thing I've read by Holly Bourne actually, so I think I'm definitely going to look at her other books. I know she writes a lot of YA, but I actually love YA fiction, so can't wait. But it was so good, would really recommend that. So my next favourite will come as absolutely no surprise to anyone who follows me on Instagram or reads my blog. Links below if you're interested in either of those things. It's a music favourite. It is the album Balance Not Symmetry by Biffy Clyro. Guys, I can't tell you how much I love this album. So it actually came out on the 17th of May, which was the day I was a bridesmaid, and I was sort of like desperately hiding away in the reception downloading it, and I was sort of just like, could I sneak away and listen to this? Which I didn't, I'm a good bridesmaid, but it's just absolutely wonderful. So I went into a lot of detail about what I think on my blog. I will link it below. But basically I just feel like it's such a celebration. So Balance Not Symmetry is quite unique in that it's sort of a concept album for a film and a soundtrack. So basically Biffy have worked with, I'm calling them Biffy like I know them. The band has worked with a film director, I think he's Welsh, can't remember his name, and they've basically collaborated to create this film Balance Not Symmetry, which I think, to reduce it right down, is supposed to be like a Romeo and Juliet story from Juliet's point of view. But basically they wrote all the music first, and then the film has been written around the music, which I think is incredible. But the music itself is fucking phenomenal, and I'm sorry for swearing, but also not, it was needed. It's just incredible. It's kind of like a culmination of their entire career. There's a bit of every kind of sound on there. So they've got I love the entire album, but there are 2 songs that hold a very special place in my heart. The main one is the last song, which is called Adored. Now, I heard Adored at the Royal Albert Hall when I saw Biffy there last September, and I actually posted a clip of that song on Instagram and said, when you relate to a song so much it feels like it's punched you in the heart and you can't stop crying. And I stand by that because I'm getting a bit emotional thinking about it, which is ridiculous, I know it is. But Adored is the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song, and I can't really say anything more than that. It speaks to me in a way very few other things have, which is generally part of the reason why I truly think I could never meet Simon Neil, because our demons would get on too well. But it's just the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. Different Kind of Love as well, which was another one I'd heard at the Roundhouse. They debuted that, which I saw in November 2017. Look, I know I'm obsessed with Biffy. It's fine. I'm okay with it. Just get on board. Anyway, and that's lovely as well. But truly, the album is fantastic. It's so joyful and powerful, and the songs are absolute bangers. I could literally name all of them, and I love them all. Like the titular track, Balance Not Symmetry, banger, very reminiscent of early Biffy. All Singing All Dancing is sort of mid-range, more what I would call, it's not puzzle, it's the one after puzzle, Only Revolutions, that kind of style. And it's kind of like a celebration of their work, but also where they're looking to go, and it's so joyful and so heartbreaking and so moving, and it's also just fucking great music. Like, it's so good. Like, and I've not even mentioned like some of the other songs I love. I'm just like, Just Be Ab sounds very Beatles, like Hey Jude-esque style Beatles. I think that's how you say it. That's not a real word. And then The Naturals is amazing. Tunnels and Trees, which is another favourite, mostly for the line, tunnels and trees, tunnels and trees. I'm really sorry I did that. I'm even sorry I'm going to carry on and put it in the internet. On the internet, not in it. Anyway, if you haven't listened to this album yet, and you're a Biffy fan, or you like music, or you have feelings, I would strongly recommend it. But highlights for me are the song Colour Wheel, which is a beautiful, beautiful love song. Adored, which I've already mentioned. The Naturals, Gates of Heaven. I'm literally gonna end up listing the whole album. I love it so much. I loved it so much. So my next favourite is a podcast. It is the Over My Dead Body podcast by Wondery. So when it comes to podcasts, my preferences tend to be either stuff like The High Low or Sentimental Garbage, where it's two really interesting people just having a really interesting chat. I love those. Desert Island Discs is another one for that. And also I love like Serial and S-Town, where it's one story told over a series of episodes and they go really in-depth in the research. So Over My Dead Body is from the makers of Dr. Death, which I also loved, and Dirty John, which I fucking loved. And I've listened to Dirty John I think about 5 times. Anyway, Over My Dead Body is about this couple. I can't remember their names, but they're a Jewish couple, and they get divorced, and then the husband or the ex-husband gets murdered. I think his name was Daniel. And this is a current case, this is a real thing. It's actually going to trial at the moment, I believe. But basically the way it looks is that her brother hired the hit on her husband, and it just is a really deep dive into sort of their relationship, and also into Judaism. So they are a Jewish couple, and he is very religious, so he causes quite a lot of trouble in the granting of the divorce. I think, I'm not 100% sure if this was the case, but they talk about it a lot, in that in some branches of Judaism there's something called a get, and the husband has to grant the wife the get in order for them to be recognised as divorced in the faith, even if they are legally divorced. And it's really interesting. And they looked at something called the prod father, which again they go into like they spend 2 episodes going into real detail about that, and it's basically just this rabbi trying to convince Jewish husbands to give their wives the get using mafia methods. Anyway, it's really, really interesting. And like I said, this case is going to trial at the moment. I listened to it very quickly. I think I listened to it in like a day, and I ended up going to the gym and was listening to it on the cross trainer, which I've never done before because I always think that it will bore me and I need the music to sort of get me through. But actually it was great. It's really, really interesting, so I strongly recommend that. If you like things like Dirty John or Dr. Death or Serial or S-Town or any of those, then I really recommend it. It was really good. My final favourite for the month of May is the episode of Desert Island Discs with Louis Theroux. Now, I love Louis Theroux. That's a really basic thing to say. Everyone loves Louis Theroux, but I absolutely love him, partly because of the documentaries I've watched. I've not watched all of them, but I've watched a few of them, and partly because of the Adam Buxton podcast, where you see a really silly, really funny side of him. I just love him. I think he's so clever and so good at his job. And he's such an excellent storyteller, and he's really not afraid of looking like an idiot, but also of asking really painful questions. He's an excellent interviewer, and I think because he is such a good interviewer himself, he finds it really difficult to be interviewed, or that's the vibe I was getting. He was very considered in what he was saying, but it was just brilliant. So his song choices were random but excellent. There was quite a bit of disco, there was some Marvin Gaye. My personal favourite was What's Love by Fat Joe and Ashanti, because that was the song he was listening to when he realised he was in love with his wife, which I just am obsessed with that. And I think his luxury item was like a 50,000 piece puzzle, and I love that. I just think he was so interesting. It's such a good episode. If you like Desert Island Discs, and I love Desert Island Discs, I think it's such a good vehicle for storytelling. I know I use that saying a lot. I can't think of a better way to put it. But I just love the way how music taps into people's memories. And I love the way people sort of justify their choices. So I think about my Desert Island Discs all the time. Like, genuinely, I don't know. That's almost an impossible question. I think I've got like 2 that are nailed down and won't change. But then there are 6 more that I wouldn't. Anyway, the 2 that are nailed down for me are Don't Come Round Here No More by Tom Petty and God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Listen to the Louis Theroux episode about Desert Island Discs. It is phenomenal. So those were all my May favourites, and I'm doing this with my hands and I don't know why. But yeah, let me know what your favourites were. Let me know if there's anything I should be listening to, if you've got any recommendations for me. And I shall see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!